Hey, I'm Rin. Welcome to my channel. So we'll be building Castorice today. It'll be fun. Let's see what we have. The butterfly lady, the daughter of the River of Souls. It's nice to finally make a video out of this. There's quite a few ways you could go with building her, and though I don't really agree fully with the build I went with, I think I did a really good job with what I've came up with. The girl from Aidonia, the land of death covered in perpetual snow. I tried my best to capture her character the best I could in this video, so I hope I haven't disappointed you guys with this either. But anyway, let's move on to the actual build, shall we? Here's what I have for Castorice. First things first, we need to set the basic framework of the character. That means we need to know what is needed for the video, those being her race, class, ability scores, background, feats, languages, proficiencies, and then her magic, equipment, and then we can write a backstory for her to fit her into a D&D world. But yeah, that is usually what is needed to build a D&D character. Anyway though, let's start this now. For race, I contemplated a few choices that I thought was pretty good for her. I wanted to go with High Elf at first because of her elven features and her being a princess and Holy Maiden, but the more I thought about it, the less appealing it became. It didn't feel that special to me for her. I wanted to go with something more meaningful than just because she's an elf. The next idea I had was Styxia Feyblood because of the story of Styxia and its waters, but the characteristics didn't feel quite right. The build didn't work for me because it didn't feel exact, so I went to the drawing board again and picked something that I thought worked better after further examination. In the end, I chose Eldrin instead, specifically the winter variant, which causes enemies to make a wisdom saving throw if the player face steps 5 feet from them, lest they become frightened by them. You can see it similar to how when people draw too close to Castorice and feel the effects of her ability. Though it's not exact, it is similar enough. For classes, I looked through so many sorceress classes because of the innate nature of her powers, which is very similar to how sorcerer classes work. Born gifted with magical talents, powerful and all, though some inheritors may see it as a curse, and on and on and on. I wanted to go with either Shadow Magic or Shadow Bloodline for her. I actually finished building her at the end and was ready to record the video when it suddenly hit me. I don't have to follow each class to its letter. I don't have to go on to build Castorice as a sorcerer if I wanted to. I could just flavor it where she is innately born with the abilities without needing to fill in on what the class is actually about. I mean, let's be fair, it's not like the rogue I play in the current campaign even actually acts like a rogue. So I went back, changed a few little details, and ended up with a cleric class instead. Yep, that felt right. Death Domain Cleric, with a free necromancy cantrip. A channel divinity that is literally called Touch of Death, which is literally described as the ability to destroy another creature's life force with a single touch, which deals extra necrotic damage with each melee attack. You also get the ability to ignore necrotic resistance against enemies at 6th level. In other words, I found Castorice's class, and it has nothing to do with shadow magic. Why did that take me so long? Why did I want to build a shadow sorcerer so badly? So for ability scores, I would make wisdom her highest, then intelligence. I would then go for constitution, charisma, dexterity, and then strength. Moving on to background, I went with acolyte to give her the class feature from it, specifically giving her ties to the specific deity you might choose to be her patron. I would look up some of them too, and pick the one you think suits her best. Calibre is always a good choice for a Death Domain Cleric, or maybe you want to be more spicy and go with Shah instead, with Castorice trying to break from her control. I might also use the Acolyte background for a bit of flavoring in her backstory too, to give her a bit more of a D&D flavoring, and a nice hook for your DM to use against you. What? Who said that? I never said anything about a DM using your backstory against you. Of course not. They would never. I hope she's not watching this, or my character is going to suffer a terrible fate. Anyway, for language, I went with Elvish as her more modern language, then Sylvan because she's an Eldrin who may have come across it before. Then I picked Draconic as an allusion to Pollux, cause sadly you can't get a pet dragon companion. Sadly. Don't worry, I have a lot of other references to dragons further on in this video, just in case. For proficiencies, weirdly enough, there isn't any. I guess the Acolyte background does give her proficiencies in Insight and Religion, which is always nice. Oh well. Let's move on to feats then. I actually went with one mainly because of the title she has, being the Maiden of War. Not only that though, but the Warcaster feat also gives her advantages in Constitution saving throws against your magic concentration, allows you to use somatic components even if you are holding a weapon. You also get to cast a specific spell of your choosing during an opportunity attack instead of using your melee weapon, which is always helpful for a caster. Cause usually you hit harder using a spell than a weapon as a cleric, sadly. And now we move on to magic. Of course, as a Death Domain cleric, you do have spells that simply come with the class itself along the way. The one I mainly want to highlight is Vampiric Touch, which is very similar to her ability to sap life out of someone with a single touch. That really is the only one from the always prepared spell list I actually wanted to highlight. The others aren't as Castorice, but they are there if you want to use them. But here are the recommendations I have for her that I wanted to mention. These are just what I think would be the most fun to have around, and the ones that I think suit Castorice the best. The first of my personal picks is Bless the Dead, which prevents the deceased from coming back to life. As the Krytos heir who inherited the Domain of Death, it makes sense she'd have this cantrip around for people. Another is Toll the Dead, just so she has a damage cantrip on her, just in case. I would have picked Sacred Flame instead, but Toll the Dead kind of fits her theme a lot better. Next is Converse with Dragon, as I promised, another reference to dragons. I hope you guys like it. Speak with Dead is another one that I added, specifically because of the scene in Styxia where we come across figures of the dead wandering around the land. Yes, it's not specifically like how the Speak with Dead actually works, but I like to take some liberties just to make this reference. Another spell I have on her would be Nightfall, mostly because it reminds me ever so slightly of how the world around her changes when she uses her ultimate into the Sea of Flowers. That's just me though, of course. But anyway, yeah, those are just my recommendations, and I hope they're a little interesting for you, at the very least. Equipment-wise, I did a little digging to figure out some certain quirks about the game. But I saw online that a lot of people reflavor great axes into scythes in D&D, and why wouldn't you, you know? Clerics can be proficient in wielding great axes. Now, I'm not saying you should go bother your DM and ask them if you could wield a great axe around like a scythe, but I'm not saying that either. Scythes are cool. Why not have it as a weapon? I've played around a bit with the ideas I've laid out, and we shall see if I've struck gold or not. Here's what I have for her with her backstory. I hope it's interesting enough for you guys, and I hope I've done good by you with the whole thing. There once was a legend that spoke of a king and queen that had a daughter who befriended a ferocious dragon that threatened to burn their kingdom into black ashes. She tamed the beast with gentle songs, and the two rode away, disappearing together into an endless sky of dark clouds. The princess was never seen again, or so the legend goes, and the king and queen would never speak of their daughter's name until their towers fell and the bells tolled for the last time. 1,000 years passed since then, and the legend seemed nigh unrecognizable to the true accounts of that time. Was there truly a dragon to be spoken of in the first place, or was it all an exaggeration of what truly happened that day? A lonely woman walked through the streets of a bustling city, trying to keep a distance from those around her, in case they would notice the stench of death that seemed to follow her everywhere. The story goes that an ancient kingdom once grew beautiful white flowers across their vast fields, welcoming the blooming colors of life and death. They said that their princess loved those flowers and used to go to the fields every spring to pick a bouquet of them to bring to her father's chambers. That was the first lie of the story. Spring never befell the kingdom of the past. The weather was always too chilly for flowers to grow wildly outside of the kingdom's walls. Yet she still loved those flowers, all the same, wishing her hands weren't so cold so she could touch their petals without fear, wishing the people did not fear her for what she was capable of. Her mother called it a gift, an answer from the gods that she never asked for. She wished they would have chosen someone else instead. She wished she had never been gazed upon by the one she could not understand, even after so many years of wandering alone. Her hands were too cold. She hugged them close to her body as she muttered quiet worries to herself. A small boy ran past her, glancing at her briefly with a confused expression. She laughed a little to herself as she made her way over to a nearby bench to daydream about a time too ancient to reach anymore. A kingdom covered in ice and snow, a violet queen, and her servants who were loyal to her even after her ultimate demise. The temple that called her favorable, the dead bodies that littered its halls, the cries of a man who begged her not to take him, that there was no mercy in her curse. And then the flap of a dragon's purple wings, a sea of white flowers, a young girl cloaked in purple and white, standing at the center of it with another girl by her side. Oh, how foolish of her to forget her name. What was her name? The more she dug through the cracks of her mind, the less she could remember the face of the one who was no longer there. What was her name again? What was it? And that's all I have today. It's been a long video, so I won't linger too long here. I'm really glad I got this video done. I really didn't expect to have gotten as far as I have with it. Genuinely, I love Castorice as a character, and though I kind of joke a lot about her being Sealer 2.0, I'm really glad I got her, and I really enjoyed the story that came along with her. Of course, this took a lot of liberties with how the story goes, but I think I wrote something that might come in handy in D&D at some point. But anyway, thank you for watching, you guys. Like and subscribe if you like, and I hope to see you all soon. See you all tomorrow. Take care.